not only is there a retail obsession or growing obsession with psychedelics, there has for a long time been an obsession in occult circles, or people who like to do rituals that they think give them powers, or rituals that they think give them information, whatever. And decades ago, an individual who we've all heard of named Aleister Crowley went into a so-called strong hallucinogenic state using similar compounds. I believe it was DMT. And out of that experience, he sketched what he believed was an entity that he met in that realm. And that sketch is very famous. It's all over the internet. The sketch more or less looks like what we would think of a gray alien being. Large head, gray body, big eyes. And for Aleister, this entity was like a sagacious demon king of a sort that decided to appear to Aleister and confirm some of Aleister's ideas. So, is there any experience you've had with people from occultic circles, or any questions you've received from these individuals that may be interested in knowledge from this era?
Well, so one point is worth underlining. When you were describing this thing confirming some of Aleister Crowley's beliefs,
right?
That's just it. That's what psychedelics do. They confirm your beliefs. So I think to impugn or to attribute intrinsic information to psychedelics isn't quite accurate. I think they are psychedelics. That's what they're called for a reason. They disclose or manifest what's in your mind. There's an Israeli psychologist, Ido Hartogsen, who's coined the description for psychedelics, calling them meaning enhancing. They enhance the meaning of things which are already in your mind. So in the case of Crowley, he had certain ideas. In the case of Charles Manson, he had certain ideas, and in his followers. And with psychedelics, it makes those ideas more real, more certain, more truthful, more meaningful. So the occult and psychedelics, the Hells Angels were the main distributors of LSD in the Bay Area back in the 60s. Charles Manson and his group used a lot of LSD. Ernst Jünger, who was a Nazi, pretty much militaristic, German guy from World War I, then World War II, used LSD with Albert Hoffman. Hoffman supported Jünger when Jünger was in dire straits, back in the 20s and 30s, the 40s. Yeah, so there's a book by Alan Piper, which is called "Strange Drugs Make Strange Bedfellows." And it's about how psychedelics are used in the occult, neo-Nazi groups, violence-prone individuals and organizations. So psychedelics are psychedelic. They work on your set and your setting. So if you want to be a more committed, neo-Nazi, take psychedelics and read Mein Kampf. If you want to be more in tune with occult energies and occult ideas and occult texts, take psychedelics and study occult texts and do rituals and perform magic. They'll pretty much do what you want. If you keep your finger to the pulse of the psychedelic literature, every couple of weeks there's a new thing that psychedelics do. Like I was describing that study from Hopkins about how the attribution of consciousness is enlarged through psychedelics. So that's, just, the latest example. The literature anyway, well, the above board literature, Psychedelics, change your metaphysical beliefs. They make you more progressive, nature appreciation, music appreciation. They improve, your domestic relationships. They help your meditation. You name it. So in a way, they're placebos, they're panaceas. They basically, do what you want them to. So that, means that if you want to make the most of your psychedelic experiences, you need to, set things up in that way. You need to prepare, you need to study, you need to, fill your mind with the kinds of things that you want to become, more the case in the future. So that could be, for malignant purposes, or it could be, for, benign, beneficent ones.
I don't want to sound like a Jones apologist here, but I mean, technically it's like, yeah, put your effort into whatever, take the drug, and then, yeah, you manifest that. So if you want to manifest, I don't know, world domination, maybe you could, maybe.
And I was going to say that's a good point too, because I think I've personally had an experience or multiple experiences where I do feel like these chemicals can maybe open up some sort of, or make you a little more receptive to something along those lines of an energetic portal,
right,
per se.
Are the stories of the berserkers, the frontline Visigoth and Viking tribes that would use mushrooms to basically lose their mind in the battlefield and go for it? But Chad, did you want to ask something?
Well, if you just look at the shamanic culture, the indigenous shamanic culture, not the one that gringos go down to and immerse themselves in for a couple of weeks. I have a friend who's a shaman in Ecuador. He's a European fellow who's lived there forever. And he came up to lead some ayahuasca retreats a few years ago, and he was telling us that 12 shamans in his state were murdered in the preceding year. So there's a lot of black magic, a lot of warfare. There's a lot of curses and counter curses and counter curses, which occur within the shamanic ayahuasca using community. Stephen Beyer, an anthropologist and an attorney, he wrote a book a few years ago, which is called Singing to the Plants. And he's got an interesting quote in there. There are good shamans and bad shamans, but they're all bad shamans. And what he was speaking about is that the model for sickness and for healing, it all involves spiritual warfare. If you're sick, it's because you've been cursed by a shaman. And if you remove the curse, it goes back to the original cursing shaman who's angry and feels challenged. And then he curses you because you remove the curse from your patient. And, kind of ad infinitum. And it ends in murder. This friend of mine said, 12 shamans were killed in his state in a year. Psychedelics are not good. They're not bad. They're like, nuclear energy in a way. I mean, they can be used for good. They could be used for, for bad. So it's, set and setting. It's your intention, is who you are, and it's, why you trip and, who you trip around.
It is widely known that the tobacco and diet industries lobby governments with scientific propaganda for years until proven guilty in court. The artificial treatment of our water is the next corporate deception.
For example, virtually every nation in Europe has rejected the use of artificial fluoride. International studies since the 40s have repeatedly shown that endocrine and neurological effects increase after repeated consumption, even at the levels accepted by U.S. government.
Epic Water Filters is the most thorough industry-grade filtration system that Houston Ensemble has ever used. They reduce heavy metals upwards of 99.5%, such as lead and mercury, bacteria like E. coli, and poisons like chromium, nitrate, and fluoride.
Join us in our journey to living a toxin-free life and get your Epic Water Filter using discount code Houston Ensemble, lowercase, one word. That's Houston Ensemble, lowercase, one word, for 20% off your Epic Water Filter.